Terry, the Aaron Rodgers hate segment, as we call it, or the player hater, or whatever like that he deserves the last few days, that's been getting a lot of buzz. So, I know our fearless leader, the heel Neil's not here, but I thought this would be an apropos time to get everybody excited and bring it back because we all agree that if we play that Lions mentality, hard nose in the trenches game plan, I noticed in the chat, the word you were looking for, thank you, Mama Jan, is fugly. It's going to be a fugly game out there.
Fugly, yes.
On Sunday. But getting back to the Aaron Rodgers hate and stuff like that, wouldn't it be so apropos, right? What does it mean if we do? Right? If we do beat Aaron Rodgers after as swarmy as he's been to us all year, after he's supposed to bring them to the promised land, and we've been here before where Aaron Rodgers is expected to win a big game at home on a Sunday night and hasn't been able to do it done. What would it mean, Sam Flannel?
It would mean everything because you would end the season of Aaron Rodgers. You would make it one of the most disappointing seasons of the Packers era with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. And wouldn't you just love to stick it to him, even if you don't make the playoffs? Kick him out, maybe potentially end his career in Green Bay. I mean, just the monster will be vanquished. I mean, despite what we all think about Aaron Rodgers, we do have to respect that he has ran the NFC North. He does have a Super Bowl. He has had all of the successes that the Lions wish that they had. But if you can kind of go through the monster to maybe even get to the playoffs yourself, how fitting and prophetic would that be?
You know what you are? This guy, he's a very nice young man.
Uh-oh.
What you should have said, you have the shot to knock his ass out.
Hey.
Like forever.
Ever?
I mean, he's already answering questions. Is he going to be back next season? Could you see yourself retiring? He's kind of flip-flopping on that whole thing. But I thought 2 years ago the Lions had a chance to knock his ass out, and they failed to do it. Now, a team that he's probably respects a little bit but doesn't really respect this year or last year or any other year, for him to lose a last game on his field where it could be winner take all, he might just say, screw it, I'm out of here. I'm not good enough. This team's not good enough. They're giving me so much static. I'm out.
Here's a good question. Here's a question. I see it in the woodwardsports.com chat thread. Joe Rude Music says, it's our Super Bowl. Is it that simple as that, Terry?
Don't do that.
Don't do that?
Stop it.
Okay, stop.
All right.
Stop, Joe. Stop, guys.
No, stop.
T. Foss, Uncle T is putting the annex into this is our Super Bowl.
All right. Here's my problem with this town. You guys are so lowbrow, have so low expectations. No, the Super Bowl is when you go to the freaking Super Bowl. It's not beating Green Bay in Green Bay. Pull yourself up, ladies and gentlemen. Have some pride.
Okay, so Terry says that the Super Bowl is when you get there. You save that. But is this as big? How big is this game for games that the Detroit Lions have played as of recent? Because this really does mean something.
One more time. They haven't had big games in 5 years. So recent, this is the biggest game ever. I refuse to call it a Super Bowl because it's not. But it's important from the standpoint of you brought in a new coaching staff, a new GM, and a team where in the NFL you should take 2 to 3 years to build something into a playoff team. This team, or this organization, sometimes takes 10, 12 years. So if you can get into the playoffs or even a winning record without getting into the playoffs, that's huge from a psychological standpoint. That you know what? You could probably sit there and say, back. This Lions team is back. They legit. And it will reconfirm my belief that for the first time in like forever, this is a real football team.
Okay, so on the opposite end, what does the loss mean? And is it so much of a loss because you finish 8-9, obviously no playoffs, but is it how you lose more importantly, or does it matter that you lose?
Well, it's how you lose is very important. If they go back to the playing a close game and Dan Campbell makes a stupid mistake that everybody looks at, so why are you doing this? Then, yeah, that is a psychological blow, because then you have a coach that any moment can blow a game for you. But, if it's a game and you play hard and you happen to lose by 3 and he doesn't make stupid mistakes at the end, that makes you feel better about this organization. Because, you just lost a tough game on the road where the stakes were high for both teams. You can't hate them for that, even though I understand the passionate people will hate them for that. And we're going to hear this same old Lions thing, crap, no matter what happens if they lose.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
But it's not, though, is it, Terry? But it's
right.
But can we not just sit here going into this last game, the fact that
No,
the NFL has told you that this is the biggest game they played in a while because they're on prime time, right, for the last week of the year. If that doesn't tell you, what does from the money aspect, and Green Bay at home has a lot to do with it and stuff like this. But can you and I sit here and not agree that they are different, regardless of how this game ends? There's something being built. There are players there.
I think they're different from the standpoint of they have a future. The Lions, even when they were somewhat good, they were building a team just to be good that year. They didn't stockpile defensive ends like they're doing now. They didn't stockpile offensive linemen, and I expect Brad Holmes to add another offensive lineman, even though the offensive line might be one of the best in football. He likes depth, and he is building towards the future. So NFL, young man's game, and then these young men have to grow into people who have that hunger, who want to win the championship. And I think Dan Campbell provides that. He's the hype guy.
You know what I'm hearing from you, Terry, and I think I absolutely agree, is there's a future because Brad Holmes and the talent that you're amassing and guys are developing and you're getting better. But you know what? I agree with you. Mm-hmm. It's the jury is still out on Dan Campbell's in-game coaching, right, at key times, because we could sit here right there and say, you're going to bet money that he's not going to make a crucial mistake. I've seen him get better. I've seen him stay out of his own way, but when he's got to make that decision to go along those lines, how much does it matter? Do you expect the Lions, and I expect them, obviously, do you expect them to play different regardless of how the Seattle game goes? Like saying if Seattle wins and they know they can't make the playoffs, will the playbook sort of open up with the fourth downs and the sort of the old school cowboy, that gambler Dan Campbell? Or if Seattle loses and they have a chance to get in, will that be something he'll play a little tighter to the vest and he'll have a different game plan? Is that fair enough to ask that question?
No, it is. It's fair. He is who he is. And I think he'll still gamble. Even if we're watching this game and there's no playoff implications, there's above 500 possibility, and that's important too to this franchise. It may not be important to a lot of teams, but it is to the Detroit Lions. For them to go 3-13-1 to 9-8, I think that's something Dan Campbell really wants. Even if he can't make the playoffs, he will still be gambling Dan.
He can hang his hat on that, right? He can hang his hat on this season at 9-8 from where they started and
right.
A pathway of why they got better. I see in the chat thread a lot of it is that, his game plans and the game plans of the Lions, they've adjusted, or I call it stay out of their own way.
Yes.
Right? Have we not, Terry? You've seen more in this year that other teams do Detroit Lions things, right? And lose games to the Lions than we do. So that, to me, Sam, that's progress.
Of course it's progress. And as far as will he be, I don't think it would honestly be a knock on Dan Campbell. I think if he decides, say there's no playoff implications, to be gambling Dan again. I expect him to play it smart. I expect a coach like him to have his team motivated to where they just getting to 9-8, getting a winning record, tripling your win total from last year, going 5-1 in the division, sweeping the Green Bay Packers, knocking Aaron Rodgers out of the playoffs. That, to me, is motivation enough regardless of playoff positioning. No matter what, it's still been a successful year as far as growth, but at the same time, just play your game. Don't be gambling, Dan. Be smart. You don't want to revert back to that. You want to move forward. We see that the team has been more disciplined under him in the last 9 games. We see him not make those same coaching decisions, and I want that to continue. I don't want any backsliding.
No backsliding.
I don't think we're going to see a more conservative Dan Campbell until he can legitimately look at his team and say, you know what, we got the better team today. I don't think he feels that way now. He feels they can win every game, but I think deep down he knows that they're not where they need to be, and so he's still got that gunboat mentality.